Hey guys, I welcome you all to this live session by Great Learning. I hope you guys can see my screen and I'm audible to you folks. Just give me a confirmation if you guys can see my screen and also if I'm audible. So I'll just wait for you guys to give me a response, and till I'll also wait till some of the other folks join in. So before the other folks join in, I'd like to inform you folks that we have launched a free learning platform called as Great Learning Academy, where we have more than almost 100 courses with respect to domains such as artificial intelligence, digital marketing, machine learning, statistics, and a lot more. And the best part is all of these courses are free, and these courses have been taught by industry experts. So these industry experts have their PhDs from Ivy League schools such as Stanford, Monash University, and Austin, Texas. And once you complete these courses, you will also get a course completion certificate, and you can go on and add that course completion certificate either onto your resume or onto your LinkedIn profile, which will be a huge value add to you guys. Right, and also if you're someone who wants to learn through an app, we also have an app. So you guys can go ahead and check out the app as well. So the link for the app will be available in the description. And if some of you folks are new to our channel, I'd request you guys to please subscribe to our channel, as your subscription to our channel would encourage us to come up with more such live sessions, and also come up with also upload more such high quality tutorials on a regular basis. So I'm getting a lot of yeses from you guys. So I believe you guys can see the screen. So Shrutika is saying that she is not able to see the screen. She's not able to join actually. So are you talking about the GLA or are you talking about the YouTube live? Because it's a YouTube live. So you just have to register over there on GLA and you can join over here. So that shouldn't be a big deal for you to join. Farun is saying RStudio in his Ubuntu is not opening. Are there any path settings? So where exactly have you, so before RStudio, have you installed R? So that will be my question. So if you have installed R properly, then there shouldn't be any problem. So if you have installed R and if you have installed RStudio after that, then it should work properly. Tarun is asking, will this session give me a certificate? So you would actually have to complete the R programming course on GLA. So once you complete that course, you will have some, you'll have to either complete quizzes, assignments, or projects. So once you complete that, that is when you'll go ahead and get a certificate. So yep, so I believe we have everything set. So now we'll just go ahead and start with the session. So today's session is about visualization with this language called as R. And in R, there is a very popular language for data visualization, which is known as GGPlot2. So GGPlot2 over here, the GG, the prefix GG, it stands for Grammar of Graphics. And now, if you talk about any form of communication, so any form of communication needs to have some sort of grammar associated with it. So let's say you have your friend Sam, and you want to speak with your friend Sam. So let's say you go ahead and ask Sam, how are you, Sam? But instead of asking, how are you, Sam, let's say you go ahead and say, Sam, are you how? Now the sentence, Sam, are you how, doesn't make sense at all. And that is because it is grammatically incorrect. So proper grammar is essentially important when you have to, when it comes to any sort of communication. And that is why when it comes to visualization, and since visualization is also a form of communication, that is why you need to have grammar associated with it as well. And this is what is known as grammar of visualization. And ggplot2 is a visualization package which is based on top of the grammar of visualization. So simply put, you can just say that the ggplot2 is a library where you can add multiple layers or multiple stacks of layers on top of each other. So you'll start off with the data layer. Data layer is basically the data frame or the data set with which you'll be working with. After that, you have something known as the aesthetic layer. Aesthetic layer are the metrics or the components onto which you map your different columns. Once you're done with the aesthetic layer, you'll go ahead and map a geometry layer. Geometry is basically the type of graph which you want to create. So let's say if you want to create a histogram, you'll go ahead and use the geom histogram geometry. If you want to create a scatterplot, you'll go ahead and use geom point. So these are some layers. Once you're done with this, let's say if you want to add some sort of theme to your graph, then you'll go ahead and add a theme layer to it. And let's say if you want to change some values on your coordinate axis, that is the labeling or the markers on your x-axis and y-axis, you can go ahead and use the coordinate layer. So with the help of this ggplot2 library, you can stack multiple layers on top of each other. So today we're going to comprehensively learn about this, and our first task would be to load this library. So to load this library, first again we'd have to install this. So you see this packages tab over here, and over here you have to click on this install button. Now all you have to do is given the name of the library. So the name of the library is ggplot2, and when you click on install, the library will be installed. And since I have already installed it, I'll not do that. Now once we have installed the library, we would have to go ahead and load the library. So here to load the library, we will be using the library function. So I'll type in library, and inside this I will give in the name of the package, which is ggplot2. And I have successfully loaded this library. Now, this library consists of a dataset called as diamonds. So this is not an external dataset. This is a data frame which is already present in this ggplot2 library. So if you load this ggplot2 library, then you will get this inbuilt inside this. Now, if I want to understand what exactly is this dataset, I can have a glance at it. So I'll use the view command, and inside view, I will pass in diamonds. So as you guys see, these are the different columns which are present. So I've got caret, cut, color, clarity, and so on. And if I want information about this, all I have to do is given question mark over here and then given the name of the data frame. So the name of the data frame is diamonds, and when I click on enter, I'll have the description of this data frame. So as you guys see over here, this is a data set containing the prices and other attributes of almost 54,000 diamonds, and these are the different variables which are present. So we've got the price column over here. So this column which you see, so this gives us the price of the diamond in US dollars. So the price of this diamond, it ranges from $326 to $18,826. Then we've got this carat column over here. This would tell us the weight of the diamond. So the weight of the diamond would be somewhere between 0.2 to 5.01. This could either be in grams or kilograms. So we don't have a specific metric over here. And then we've got the cut column. This would tell us the quality of the cut. And we have these different categories over here, starting from fair, going on till ideal. And then we've got this color column. So color would tell about the diamond color. And this, again, we've got different categories over here. This goes on from D and it stops at J. So if the diamond color is D, that would mean it is the best color. If the diamond color is J, that would mean it's the worst color. And then we've got the clarity. So again, we've got these different measurements of how clear the diamond is. So we've got L1 till IF, L1 being the worst clarity and IF being the best clarity. And then similarly, we've got X, Y, and Z over here. So X over here will denote the length of the diamond, Y is width of the diamond, and Z is depth of the diamond. So this is some basic info about this diamonds data frame. Let me just go ahead and see if there are any questions over here. So Aditya Mehra is asking, is the R programming course free in GLA? Yes, it is absolutely free. So all the courses on GLA are free. You don't have to pay for any of those courses. Sumit Kumar is asking, could you tell me the machine learning path? How can I learn it from starting? So I've been, so through all of my live sessions, if you have attended my earlier live sessions, I made absolutely clear that if you want to be a data scientist or if you want to be a machine learning engineer, then there are three basic pillars which you have to master. So the first pillar is statistics. You have to be really, really good with statistics as it forms the base for machine learning, data science, and artificial intelligence. So you would have to start off with the basic concepts such as measures of central tendency, measures of deviation, central limit theorem. Central limit theorem is essentially important. It is one of the most important, if not the most important concept with respect to statistics. Then you have to learn concepts such as hypothesis testing, and you have to, after that, you would have to learn some probability concepts as well. You would have to understand what is a distribution, why is normal distribution so important. We talk a lot about Gaussian distribution, normal distribution, the bell curve of the normal distribution, mean, median, and mode being same for the normal distribution. Why is that? So normal, learning about normal distribution and how a data is normally distributed, that is very important. So once you learn about this stuff, that is when you can go ahead and choose a weapon of your choice. So you can either go with R or Python. So these are the most in-demand languages right now for machine learning. So I actually recommend you guys to learn both R and Python, because if you learn one language, then learning the second language is not really difficult, because both of them have a similar syntax, both of them are dynamically typed, and both of them are mostly used for the purpose of implementing machine learning and data science. So now that you've mastered the statistical concepts and you've learned R and Python, that's when you can go ahead with the machine learning concepts. So when it comes to machine learning, I suggest you guys to comprehensively learn all of the mathematical concept behind these algorithms, the main concept, what is the underlying concept of these. So start off by learning the mathematical concept of linear regression, logistic regression, SVM, Nye-based decision tree, random forest. So cover all of these ML algorithms and try to implement those algorithms from scratch without using scikit-learn in Python, or maybe without using the inbuilt libraries in R. Right, so I believe once you cover all of these, you'll be good with respect to most of the topics in data science. And to improve your expertise, that is when you can go ahead and participate in many data science competitions. So you can go ahead and register on Kaggle, and you can participate in most of the data science competitions over there. So I hope that answers your question. Mohammad Nasser is asking, how will we load data from Kaggle and GitHub into RStudio? So there's a very simple function called as read.csv. So here, if you look at this command, uh, okay, so I have not used that command, but let's say if you have to load any CSV file, all you have to do is use this method called as read.csv, and over here you would have to give the path of the file, as simple as that. Let's see if the file is present on my desktop, then I will just give in the path of the file which is present on my desktop, and I will go ahead and store that file in a new object. So let's say I will name that object as new file. Right, as simple as this. This is how you can load a file, an external file, into RStudio. Akash is asking, when it comes to random forest, there are some functions, right? Am I supposed to learn that without understanding its meaning and implement it by practice and then understand it? Akash, so you would actually have to do the exact opposite. I'd suggest you to learn the algorithm first, learn the underlying concept of random forest first. Why is random forest up? How is random forest basically a next step from decision tree, and what extra features do you have, and what is the difference between bagging, boosting, and random forest? How do you have to understand concepts about pre-pruning, post-pruning. Then you have concepts such as you would have to learn about when to cut the tree, and you would have to learn how is the impurity of the node defined. So you'd have to learn all of these concepts. Once you learn all of these concepts, I suggest that is when you can go ahead and implement these random forest algorithms in R or Python. So let me just check some more questions over here. Aditya is asking, will this live session be available after the class ends? Yes, this will be uploaded as it is over there. Parandamudu is asking how to apply for these courses. So all you have to do is register on Great Learning Academy. So once you register on Great Learning Academy, you will you will have access to all of the courses over there. So the link for Great Learning Academy will be there in the description. So you guys can just check that out. If you have any doubts, you can just post in the chat. My team will take care of it, and if my team is not able to answer, I'll just go through some of those questions over there. Right, so guys, keep posting your questions over here. I'll take up the rest of the questions later. And to the folks who have just joined, I'd request you guys to please click on the subscribe button, as it'll encourage us to come up with more such live sessions. And we'll be doing this live sessions regularly. So we are trying to conduct at least 2 live sessions every single day for you guys to make sure that your lockdown is as productive as possible. And if you want to upskill during this period of lockdown and also get certified for that, we have a platform called as Great Learning Academy. You can go ahead and register over there. And also, if you want to learn through an app, you can also download the app. The link for that would be available as well. Right, now let's get on to today's tasks. So we have loaded this library, we have understood what this library is about. So we've got these 54,000 diamonds. Now this is a very widely used data set when it comes to visualization, especially with the ggplot2 package. Now, as I've told you, the ggplot2 package it is based on grammar of visualization, and you can stack multiple layers on top of each other. So our first task would be to start with the data layer. And what I'm going to do is now I've loaded the library. I'll just type in ggplot over here. I'll hit enter. So as you see, this is my first layer. I just have a blank background over here, a white background. And now after this, I will go ahead and start with the data layer, which will form the base. So onto the data layer, I am mapping the diamonds data frame. This is done. This is my first layer. Now once the first layer is done, I will go ahead and map the second layer. Second layer would be the aesthetic layer, and on the aesthetic layer I am mapping the price column. So this column which you see over here, this is the price column, and I am mapping this price column onto the X aesthetic. So let me hit enter again. So as you see over here, so this is the second layer over here. I have mapped the price column onto the X axis. Once this is done, I will go ahead and map the third layer, or add the third layer, and the third layer would be the geometry layer, and I want to create a histogram. And to create a histogram, I would have to use the geom histogram method. So that is what I'm using over here. And again, I'll hit enter. So as you guys see, I have successfully created this histogram over here. And now, what exactly is a histogram, you guys must be thinking. So if you haven't done any visualization before, so to understand the distribution of a continuous numerical variable, that is when we'll go ahead and use a histogram. Now, again, some of you who are new to visualization, you might be confused between what is a bar plot and a histogram, or what is the difference between a bar plot and a histogram. So the answer is very simple. You will use a histogram when you want to understand the distribution of a continuous numerical variable. On the other hand, if you want to understand the distribution of a categorical variable, you will go ahead and use a bar plot. And over here, since price is a continuous numerical value, as you see, we have continuous numerical value over here, and that is why I have used a histogram to understand the distribution of this. So let's just analyze this properly. I'll zoom this over here. So as you guys see, we had actually seen in the description that the price of the diamonds, it starts at $326 and it goes on till $18,000 over here. Now if we look at this frequency, or this count, is very high. This would mean that we have more than around 13,000 diamonds, right? So in total we had around 55,000 diamonds. Out of those 55,000 diamonds, more than 13,000 diamonds, their price is very low. Their price would be somewhere around $300 to $500, right? So that is something you can clearly gauge from this. And if you look at this is the price of $10,000. So there are very few diamonds. So that could be maybe around 100 odd diamonds. That's it. So there could be 100 odd diamonds whose price is more than $10,000. And this is the range of 18,000. So you can say maybe there are 10 to 20 diamonds, or not even that, whose price is equal to or greater than $18,000. So this is a very interesting observation when it comes to a histogram. Now we have created a very bland histogram over here. Now I want to add some color to this. So if I want to add some color, there is an attribute called as fill. So I'll just use that attribute and add it inside this geom histogram method. And over here I will give the color green. So as you guys see, I have mapped this histogram with this green color over here. Let me zoom this again. Right now, this just seems to be a much more prettier plot than the earlier plot. So earlier plot was just it was just gray. Now I've changed the color to green over here. This is parrot green. Now this is the fill color. Fill color is basically what we add inside or we fill these bins with. Now instead of adding this inside, let's say if I wanted a boundary color, then I have another attribute called as COL. So I have used fill. Now instead of fill, I will use another attribute called as COL, and to this I will maybe give the color blue. And as you guys see, I have added a boundary color as well. So this is how we can create a histogram, add fill color and boundary color to it. So if you have any more questions, again, you guys can go ahead and ask me. I'll check all of those. There's a question from RChemTech. He's asking how to check the accuracy for various ML algorithms. So when you talk about accuracy, that depends on what sort of ML algorithm you are building, whether it's a regression machine learning model or whether it's a classification model. If you talk about a linear regression model, now in terms of linear regression, the output again is a numerical value. So let's say now you have, let's take the same data frame over here, and your dependent variable is, let's say, this price column. You have 54,000 entries over here, and you have all of these prices, and then you have a test set, and in the test set you have prices of another 54 diamonds over there. And now you're going to compare the actual price with the predicted price over there, and there would obviously be an error in that prediction. So what you're going to do is, when it comes to linear regression, there is something known as root mean square error. So you can sort of consider the root mean square error to be sort of the average error with respect to the overall model. Now once you get this root mean square error, what you're going to do is you will build 2 or 3 more models. So let's say you build 5 models in total, then whichever model will have the lowest value of root mean square error, that would be your ideal model. So this is in case of linear regression. Now let's talk about classification algorithm. So let's say if you're working with a decision tree or a random forest or a naive Bayes, then obviously your dependent variable is categorical in nature. So your dependent variable could be the cut column over here, the color column, or maybe the clarity column. So in this case, you will use something known as a confusion matrix. So the confusion matrix would give you true positives, false positives, true negatives, and false negatives. And with the help of this, you can go ahead and calculate the accuracy of the model. If you guys don't know what exactly is confusion matrix, I mean, this is not really the right session for this. I'd recommend you guys to watch our tutorials on machine learning and data science. So you can know more about confusion matrix over there. How to define bin width of histogram? So that's a good question. Now, since we have this over here, there is an attribute called as bin width, right? So as you see, we can either use bins or bin width. Let's say I use bins. Now, if I don't want all of these bins, let's say I only want 10 bins over here, I'll set the value to be equal to 10. And as you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So this is how I can vary the number of bins which are present in this histogram. So now again, instead of 10, let's say if I want only 5 bins, I'll give in 5 over here and I only have 5 bins. And if I want maybe 200 bins over here, I'll give in 200. And I have 200 bins this time. So if you want to understand the distribution with respect to minute detail, with respect to every aspect of it, that is when you can go ahead and you can increase the bins value. On the other hand, if you want to just understand a general trend, then you can reduce the number of bins which are present. So I hope this helped you out. Dheeraj is saying R is a bit easier than Python in case of analysis with straight functions. Does Python carry some advantage over R in some other areas? So Dheeraj, to answer this, I'll say if you're doing anything with respect to statistics, I'd say R should be a go-to language. And if you're doing anything with respect to deep learning, then Python needs to be a go-to language. And also R is a language which was developed by statisticians for statisticians. So when people were developing R, their their objective was to help statisticians, actually theoretical statisticians, to help implement that theoretical statistics in the form of code and get some results. So when it comes to any form of statistical implementation, if you want to implement any of the hypothesis test, t-test, test, if you want to check if the data is normally distributed or not, if you want to check check the different assumptions in linear regression, that is when you will go ahead and use R. But on the other hand, let's say if you want to do multiple things, now Python is a language with which you can do web development, you can do game development, you can do general purpose development. It can also be used for machine learning and deep learning tasks. So Python is very versatile. And also when you talk about deep learning, most of the deep learning frameworks were written by keeping Python in mind and not R in mind, even though most of the frameworks, so if you talk about frameworks such as TensorFlow and Keras, these frameworks are available in both Python and R, but they were developed by keeping Python in mind. If you want to implement anything with respect to deep learning, I'd say go ahead with Python. But if you want to do anything with respect to statistics or visualization, now if you see these graphs over here, also as Dheeraj had pointed out, it's very easy to implement data visualization tasks with the ggplot2 package rather than the Matplotlib or the C1 package in Python. So if it's anything related to statistics or data visualization or maybe even data manipulation, because you have a package called as deployer, right? So if it is mostly related to EDA or if it's statistical process, then I'll say go ahead with R. Our Chemtech is saying screen is not clear. So is that a problem with everyone over here, or could you just give me a confirmation if others can see my screen? Mohammed Nasir is asking if we can do all beautiful visualization in Tableau and Power BI by drag and drop options, then why to write tons of code in R and Python? That's a very interesting question, I'd say. But let's say if you're someone who already has expertise in Python or someone who already has expertise in R, then I wouldn't want to integrate Python with Tableau and then do the visualization. Let's say I've got some result and I immediately want to visualize it. Then all I have to do is, if I'm working with Python, all I have to do is import Matplotlib and make these simple graphs to find some sort of inferences. Similarly, if I'm working with R and if I've got a result with respect to the ML model, all I have to do is use ggplot2 and perform some sort of visualization with it. Right? So if you're someone who is already from the coding background, and if you're someone who already knows Python and R, and if you're implementing all of these ML models with Python and R, it's easier for you. So let's say for someone like me, if I implement a machine learning model, then if I want to analyze it or if I want to make some sort of visualization with it, I wouldn't want to integrate it with Tableau and import the dataset to Tableau again and then make a graph, because that is just redundant work. So all I can do is use the same data over there and make plots directly in our studio if I'm working in R, or directly in Python over there. So that is something I can do. So I hope that answers your question. How to define bin width, I've already answered that. Akash P saying our programming is purely related to analysis. That is sort of true. If it is EDA, then you can go ahead with R. R is much more easier and much more intuitive when it comes to EDA than Python. Om is asking, is this session about R programming? This session is about R programming, but we are specifically covering data visualization or how to do data visualization with R programming. There's a request from Home Tech Computer Society. They're basically asking to make videos in Hindi as well. Yes, we'll absolutely do that. So these live sessions, some of the live sessions will be in English and some of the live sessions will be in Hindi, because not everyone understands Hindi. So if we teach in English, then everyone, so people outside from India can also understand it, and Hindi people can understand who are comfortable with Hindi as well. There's a question from Tarun. He's asking, what is EDA? EDA basically stands for Exploratory Data Analysis. Now, so when you talk about machine learning or data science, just building the machine learning model isn't your only task. Before you go ahead and build the machine learning model, you would actually have to understand your data set. Now, when you have to understand your data set tasks, one is known as data manipulation and the other task is known as data visualization. So in data manipulation, when it comes to R, we have a package called as deployer. And with the help of this task, we can do simple inferences. So let's say if I want to extract one single column, or if I want of manipulation with the data, and that is something which I can do with the deployer package. Now, this is very important because you can't just go ahead and build your machine learning model on top of your data directly. So you would have to understand your data first. You would have to understand what is the nature of your data. You'd have to understand how many numerical columns are present, how many categorical columns are present. You'd have to understand what's the correlation between all of these different columns, and then you would also have to understand if your data is normally distributed or not. So guys, just give me a confirmation if you understand what is normal distribution in general. Why is normal distribution so important when it comes to understanding data, right? Now, when you are building an ML model, this is very important. You would have to check if your data is normally distributed or not. Else, before doing that, you can't just go ahead and build your ML model, right? So all of these tasks, all of the pre-processing of the data before you actually go ahead and build the model, that is what is known as EDA, or exploratory data analysis. You're basically Mohammed Nasser is again asking, can we do all visualization with R tools? Yes. So you can do most of the visualization with R, with the ggplot2 package itself. So you have all of these graphs over here. So let's say if you want to create an area plot, you have the geom area function. To create this, you can create a density plot. So as you see, there are a lot of options over here with the help of this geom function. And this now can go ahead and create interactive visualization as well. And then you have another package called as GGUS. GGUS is also another library which is used for data visualization. So these are the three, all of these. Package, yes, you can say that. There are a lot of inbuilt packages which are present, and ggplot2 is one of those inbuilt packages which is there. Can we create a pie chart in R? Absolutely, we can create a pie chart. Right guys, you can, I don't see new questions. Keep posting your questions over here. I'll take up all of your questions regularly, and also to the phone. And also click on the bell icon, so whenever we upload a new live session or whenever we upload a new tutorial, you guys will let them know. You can check out Great Learning Academy. So in Great Learning Academy, we have around 100 odd courses, and these courses are with respect to a lot of domains. So you have courses, and all of these courses have been taught by industry experts who have their PhDs or masters from Ivy League schools such as Stanford, and even some of the certificate. So to get the certificate, you either have to complete some of the quizzes, assignments, or projects, and once you complete that, you will get the certificate as well. And now a Great Learning app as well. You can check out the link over here. So we've built this histogram. Once the histogram is done, we are going to create a bar plot. So when I started histogram, I told you guys that a histogram is used for understanding continuous numerical values. Now let's see how can we understand the distribution of categorical values. So to understand the distribution of categorical values, we'll be using a bar plot. So let's say out of all of these columns, I'd want to understand the distribution of this cut column, right? Now, if I just want to see, let's say how many columns are there or how many categories are there, I can use the table method. So inside table, I'll be passing in this cut column. So as you see over here, we've got all of these different categories: fair, good, very good, premium, and ideal. And I want to understand the distribution of all of these columns. So let me go ahead and use the same method. I'll have ggplot2, and I'd have to start off by mapping something onto the data layer. So here I'll map the diamonds data frame onto the data layer. Once this is done, I'd have to use the aesthetic attribute. So onto the aesthetic layer, I'm mapping the cut column onto the X aesthetic. Data layer is done, the aesthetic layer is done, and then I'd have to use the geometry layer. And since I have to create a bar plot, I'll be using the geom bar function over here. So let me just type in geom bar, and this is what we get. So as you see over here, we've got 5 categories: fair, good, very good, premium, and ideal. And these are our 5 categories over here. 1,000 diamonds which we have, more than 20,000 diamonds, their cut is ideal. And there are very, very few diamonds, maybe around 100 or 200 diamonds, or not even that, whose cut is fair. And then we've got all of these 3 in between over here. Right, so this is how the height increases, starting from fair, going on till ideal, and the most amount of diamonds which are present in our data frame, they are of ideal type. Now this is now when if you still haven't understood EDA, this exactly is EDA. Right, all of these inferences which we are trying to find out from the data, this is and how many ideal cut type diamonds were present, how many fair type cut diamonds were present. So right now what we are doing in this, I can go ahead and add color to this again, and to add color I will use the fill attribute. So I'll just use fill, and onto this I will add the color pale green 4. So fill is equal to pale green 4, and as you guys see over here, I have added this color over here. Now similarly, let's say if I have orange color, I'll just type in orange over here, and if you guys can see this, there is an orange color. Now instead of using them as attributes, I want to use them as aesthetics. That is, I want to map a column onto the fill aesthetic or onto the color aesthetic. So this is the same command which we had used. It's just that I am removing the fill attribute and the call attribute from inside the geom bar, and instead of having that over there, I will use the fill attribute inside the aesthetic layer. And instead of adding a color, I will actually map a column onto the fill aesthetic over here, and I will be mapping the cut. Let me just have it properly over here. So I'll map the cut column onto the fill layer, and now when I hit on enter, so as you see, so since I've mapped the cut column onto the fill layer, every bar will or violet. So I'm not really good with colors, so you can, I'm not sure whether this is purple or violet, whatever you call this. So let's call this dark purple. So this dark fair, this fair cut is being determined by this dark purple color. And then you have the ideal cut over here. This ideal cut is being determined by the yellow color. Right, so as you see, we've got these 5 different cuts, and all of these 5 different cuts are being determined by a different color. Right, so let me go ahead and check some more questions. Balaji, I'm like that, haven't we? Right? Let me just go ahead and see some more questions. .py files wouldn't be possible because .py are Python files, and RStudio is specifically built for R code. So you can't really go ahead. There's a question from Gatrini. This person is asking, is it better than Python charting? From my personal experience, I'd say GGPlot 2 is better on grammar of data visualization, and it's only GGPlot 2 which is based on grammar of visualization. And as you see over here, it's very intuitive, it's very easy. All we have to do is add on multiple layers on top of each other, and we can have very beautiful visualizations over here. So from my point of view, GGPlot 2 is much better than Seaborn and Matplotlib. Zishan is asking, can we, instead of histogram, can we create a pie diagram in R? Yes, we can create a pie diagram. Right, so we are done with histogram, we are done with bar plot. So this was univariate distribution. So till now what we've done is that is called as univariate distribution, or in other words we have just tried to understand the distribution of a single variable. Now I want to understand the distribution of multiple variables together, and for that purpose I'll be using a scatter plot. And the scatter plot is used to understand the distribution between two numerical variables. That is, if I want to understand how does one numerical variable change with respect to another numerical variable, price column over here. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to understand the distribution between these two columns over here. So let's say if the caret value increases, I want to understand if the price value increases or decreases. So this is some sort of GGPlot, and onto the data layer, let me write this properly over here, and onto the data layer I'll be mapping the diamonds data frame. Once this is done, I would have to add the aesthetic layer, and onto the aesthetic layer I will map the caret column. So caret column goes onto the x-axis, and then I will go ahead and map the, I'll use geom point, and since I'm making a scatter plot I'd have to use the geom point method over here. So caret will go on to the x-axis, price will go on to the y-axis. Let me zoom this and see if we've got the result. Not yet. This will take a bit more time. So as you see, caret is on the x-axis, price is on the y-axis, and as the caret value increases, so I can't really call it a linear, but you can say that if the caret value increases, there's a good probability that the price value of the diamond will also increase. So if you look at, so we have 5 diamonds whose caret value is equal to or greater than 4 and price is greater than 15,000. Now again, over here what we're doing is EDA. Now this is sort of an inference where we did not have to build a model, but even though we did not build a model, it was very easy to understand. It is very clear that we, out of the 54,000 diamonds, right? We have 54,000 diamonds in total, and out of caret value is greater than 4 and whose price value is greater than 15,000. So this is again a very interesting observation which we have got from this. Now again what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a color to this. So black is not really something which looks good over here. So here I'll use COL and I'll give it a color. So let's say I given the color of orange. Any more questions? From Anantakar, he would like to know, while creating models for ML, how to conclude the model created as most accurate model. So as I've already told you guys, that depends on what model you're building. So if you're building a linear regression model, then you have a metric called as root mean square error. So you can't just know with one single model. You have to compare it with multiple models. So let's say if you build 5 models, and now you will compare the RMSE value of all of these 5 models. So whichever model will have the lowest value of root mean square error, that would be your best linear regression model. Similarly, let's say if you are building a decision tree algorithm for classification purpose, and again you build 5 decision tree models. Now for these 5 decision tree models, you will have to build confusion matrices for all of these, and with the help of these confusion matrices you will be able to find out the accuracy. And then you'll get the accuracy for all of these 5 models. Then you'll compare the accuracy for these 5 models and identify which model is best for this particular purpose. So if you just build one model, then that is not going to give you any clear idea of how your data is or how your model is performing. You would have to have a benchmark. I mean, let's say if I say I have scored 87 in the exam. Now I haven't told you what are the maximum marks. I just told you 87. That 87 could be out of 100 or 1000 or maybe even 1 lakh. And if I say I've scored 87 and if the others have scored maybe maybe let's say 10 or 20, and I'm the only person who has scored 87, but I don't give you that context, right? Then there is no proper idea to understand what is happening. So that is why just building one single model will not give you the answer. You would have to build multiple models and then check the accuracy of all of these models to understand which model is best for this particular data. Akshay Pawar is asking, what is the difference between learning a data visualization with Python library, Matplotlib, and data visualization by R? So I've told you guys, as you can see over here as well, GGplot 2 is, now this is again my opinion. Personally, I feel GGplot 2 is much better when I compare it with Matplotlib or Seaborn, because it is very intuitive. All I have to do is add on new layers on top of each other. First, I'll start with the data layer. On top of the data layer, I'll stack the aesthetic layer. On top of the aesthetic layer, I'll go ahead and stack the geometry layer. And I'll have a very beautiful chart with me. Now, when I talk about Matplotlib is very complicated. So there is no proper layer structure, and also the visualization, it's not clear. I'd have to use the figure attribute to change, the size of the figure as well, and even to add the legends, I'd have to manually add the legends. But as you see, if you look at ggplot over here, it directly adds the legends over here. It automatically gives you the x-axis label and the y-axis label over here. But if you talk about Matplotlib, you would have to manually give the x-axis label and also the y-axis label. It's very cumbersome when you work with Matplotlib, and also it's time consuming. So that is why personally I prefer ggplot 2 over Matplotlib. Kevin Anthony is asking, will this session be recorded? Yes, it will be available once the session is done. Naveen is asking, could you please tell me how to give multiple color for scatterplot to differentiate between the range? Yes, we can absolutely do that. So here there are two things, and that is what we are going to do over here. The first task is to map the first task is to actually map a continuous column to the color, and the second task is to map a categorical column to the color. And here, let's say if, as you said, if I want to understand the range over here for price, I'll remove over here and I'll add the call attribute inside aesthetic. And inside this, let's say if I want a different color with respect to price, I'm going to map the price column onto the COL attribute. Let's see what will happen over here. So we had caret on the x-axis, we had price on the y-axis. Now I have introduced a new aesthetic called as call, and I am mapping the price column onto this call attribute. So as you see over here, as the price value increases, the intensity of the color decreases. Now this is much more intuitive, isn't it? So over here the caret value is low and the price value is also low, right? So as the price value increases, the color intensity of the color also increases. So this is how you can map a continuous column onto the color. Now instead of a continuous column, let's say if I map a categorical column. So let's say if I map the cut column onto the COL aesthetic over here. Let's just wait for the result and see what do we get over here. Now, as you see, we have a lot of different colors. Again, we'd have to wait a bit, right? So as you see, we have all of these different cut categories, and for all of these different categories, we have different colors. Now, as you see, if you look at the distribution, it is very evident that most of the diamonds, their cut is of ideal. and their price is also quite low. If you, let's say, come over here, maybe if we take this quadrant over here where the price is, let's say, greater than $12,500 and the caret value is greater than 2.5, you will find very less yellow colored dots over here, and most of the dots are of purple or dark blue. So either they are of fair or good. So this tells us that if the cut is fair or good, then their caret value will be high and also their price value will be high. So this is an interesting observation over here again. So I hope that answers your question. How can we change the color of the points over here? Kevin Anthony is asking, is database be created by using Python or R programming? You can't create a database, but you can connect to a database. So connecting, so let's say you have, let's say if you want to connect to maybe MySQL server or any other DBMS, so you can go ahead and do that with both Python and R. But if you want to create a database, that is not possible. But if you want to create a data frame is basically the data set. So if you want to create a data frame like this, then that is something you can do in both Python and R. Mohammad Nasser is asking, what about Plotly versus ggplot? So if you talk about Plotly versus ggplot, then I'll go with Plotly because Plotly is very interactive. Now let's say you see this plot over here. If I keep my mouse pointer over here, then you don't have any values. But on the other hand, let's say if I made the scatter plot by using Plotly, then you would see a lot of interaction over here. So let's say I'd get a value of maybe the exact price value. If I keep my mouse pointer over here, then if I use Plotly to create this graph, then this will give me the exact price value and exact caret value. So that is something which you can get only with Plotly. Mohammad Nasser is again asking, what dataset can we practice for better visualization plots from Kaggle or GitHub? So this is one dataset. You have the diamonds dataset over here, and then there's a dataset called as Pokemon, which you can find on Kaggle. That is also widely used for data visualization. You can use Iris as well. So just use the common dataset. So you can use empty cars, Iris, diamonds, Pokemon, census dataset. So these are some of the datasets which you can work with for the purpose of data visualization. Right. So the next question from Mohammad Nasser is, can we do word cloud using ggplot? So word cloud is not possible by using ggplot. So you would have to use for this purpose actually NLTK package. So with the help of NLTK, we can implement word cloud. Anantakar is asking, where did I get this diamond dataset? So this diamond dataset is part of the ggplot2 library. So I don't have to externally load this. If I load the ggplot2 library, this diamonds dataset will be a part of the library itself. Right. Now it's already 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover one more geometry today, which is the box plot. So box plot helps us to understand the distribution between a numerical column and a categorical column. Now to create this box plot, we are trying to understand the distribution between the clarity column and the caret column over here. So as you see, we have clarity, which is a categorical column, and then we have the caret column. So the caret column is a continuous numerical value. Now let me go ahead and build the box plot for this. So the syntax is similar again. I'll just start with ggplot, and onto the data layer I will map the diamonds data frame, and on the data layer I'd have to map the aesthetic layer. So here I have two aesthetics. One is the X aesthetic, next is the Y aesthetic. So onto the X aesthetic I'll map the clarity column, and onto the Y aesthetic I'll map the caret column. Once this is done, I will go ahead and use a geometry layer, and the geometry which I'll be using is geom box plot. And as you see, we have this result over here. So we've got all of these different box plots for all of these different categories over here. And now on the x-axis we have a categorical column, on the y-axis we have a numerical column. Now again, if I want to add color to these boxes, all I have to do is use fill as an aesthetic. So I'll have fill over here, and onto this, let's say if I want to have a different color for a different box, so I'll just map clarity onto the fill aesthetic over here, and let's see what happens now. So now, since we've mapped the clarity column onto the fill aesthetic, as you see over here, we have a different color for all of these different boxes over here. Neville is asking, what is word cloud? So word cloud is mostly used for text analysis. So let's say if there's a paragraph which consists of 500 words and you want to understand the frequency of each word. Let's say in the paragraph you want to understand the number of times the word a occurs, or maybe the word animal occurs. You can go ahead and use a word cloud. So the word cloud, so let's say you basically have a lot of circles over there, and the circle for the word which has a higher frequency, that will be the size of that circle will be higher, and the circle for which the frequency of the word is lower, the size of that circle will be lower. Right. Ayushi is asking, can I suggest some data sets to perform data cleaning and EDA? There is this census data set. It is also known as the adult census data set, which you can get from UCI machine learning repository or Kaggle. So you have a lot of missing values over there. You have a lot of columns where you need a lot of pre-processing work. So that is something which is widely used for EDA purpose. You can go ahead and download the census dataset from there. And there is also a dataset called as customer churn. So you can also go ahead and download that dataset and work with it for EDA purpose. Nitish is asking, is there any scope for data science in India? Well, to answer that, there is a lot of scope. So if you look at job postings for Naukri or LinkedIn, even now, even during this period of lockdown, you will see that it is only these data science or machine learning positions which are open as of now, because there's a lot of data, especially during this time as well. There is a lot of data which has to be analyzed, which has to be understood, and you have to make some sort of business insights from that data. So you have a lot of openings with respect to data science and ML positions right now. Right. Neville is saying EDA is cleaning plus visualization. Yes, to sum it up, that is actually right. EDA is basically data manipulation plus data visualization, and you're basically trying to understand the data. You're exploring the data, and you're exploring the data by pre-processing it and building some beautiful graphs. Right, guys. So I believe I've covered most of the topics in this session. So whatever I've left out, that will be covered in the next session. So thank you very much for attending, and I'll sign off for today. And if you guys haven't yet subscribed to our channel, I'd request you guys to please go ahead and subscribe, as it will encourage us to create more such tutorials, and we'll be uploading a lot more tutorials as well. And you can go ahead and register at Great Learning Academy as well. So we have more than 100 courses over there, and those courses are with respect to data science, machine learning, visualization, statistics, digital marketing, statistics, cloud computing, and so on. So a lot of courses are available. Just register over there and you will get a certificate once you complete it. And if you want to learn through an app, we also have the Great Learning app. You can find the link for the app in the description. So guys, thank you very much. I'm signing off for the day. Stay safe and take care of your health.